Alright, so yeah, I'm doing the Q&A right after, the day after. A few reasons. First being, well, I've got about 25 questions on this one, and I really don't know if I want to do like more than that. I'm also going to be doing the Steven Universe Q&A today as well. So that's the first reason right there, is that these Q&As kind of like got enough questions as it is that I feel like I can do these already. So yeah, there's that. And the second thing is that I kind of am trying to keep myself sane because my mom's downstairs sick, and I don't want to be sick, so I'm staying up here, barricaded. I've barely eaten anything all day because I am that afraid of germs, and it's a horrible stomach bug, so I don't want that in the slightest. So I've more or less barricaded myself in my room. I'm that germophobic up in here. And also in that time frame, a girl I was kind of seeing ditched me today, so yeah, I'm in a great mental state for this. So it's either do the Q&A and keep myself occupied, or B, I don't know how far from a fall from this roof could kill me. Anyway, those are kind of the options I'm juggling here, people. So it's either do this or go insane. So I'm kind of dealing with that. I'm also in one of my moods. I'm also in one of my moods again. So yeah, again, great mental state to do a Q&A. So anyway, sorry about that. Sorry. So let's get this on. Let's get this over with. As always with my Q&As, I want to thank everyone who did send in questions, and also in case someone's question did not get answered during this Q&A, that's YouTube's fault. They sometimes tend to mark these questions as spam or not have them on the lists at all, so I do apologize for that. But anyway, let's start things off with Travis Rendon, who asks, how would you feel about a steampunk Spider-Man series, and how would you explain some villain powers like Venom, Green Goblin, Rhino, Doc Ock, etc.? I don't really know if I can put a Spider-Man steampunk universe. Well, the closest we got to that really was Spider-Man Noir, and that was, I guess, the closest you could do to Spider-Man steampunk, really. So you've got that going for you. So I guess go from there and just kind of work backwards, maybe. The Venom suit, I would say maybe just make it like a guy who's running around in a black costume, and he's just kind of wearing like the white smile and teeth and stuff as war paint. I don't know. So there you go. Second question, if you could live in any cartoon world with your own steampunk twist, what would it be and why? I guess Stormhawks, they're kind of steampunky in their own kind of way, so maybe Stormhawks. Third question, if you could live in a steampunk in a steampunk world, what kind of weapon or vehicle outfit would you make? I don't know about vehicles, so weapon, maybe some kind of electrocharge weapon, like a Tesla coil gun, I don't know. So there you go. Andrew, so thank you for those questions, Travis. Moving on to Andrew Varney, who asks, how awesome would a steampunk version of Phineas and Ferb be? We kind of got that already, didn't we, with the episode Steampunk? We kind of got that already. But I guess focusing on like as a continuing series, that'd be cool. But yeah, we had a whole episode dedicated to that idea. MLP meets steampunk, yay or nay? Yay. Very yay. Third question, which of the following would be the coolest? Steampunk Gotham, Steampunk Cybermen, or Steampunk Gravity Falls? Well, we kind of got Steampunk Cybermen and Gotham with Gotham by Gaslight, and in the Doctor Who episode, The Next Doctor. Steampunk Gravity Falls would be completely awesome. I've kind of thought about how that universe would kind of go. Maybe I'll do a whole video on it, but I think that would be pretty cool. Anyway, so moving on to the next question: what is it about steampunk that interests you? I think it's a really cool concept of taking technology and making it into like these classic designs and going with all these kind of cool weapons and whatnot. It's really hard to explain, but I just love the allure of it. You know what I mean? So third question: steampunk Power Rangers. Any ideas? Maybe their weapons are steam-powered? That's what I'm kind of going with, is that they have steam-powered weapons. So there you go. I guess for Steam Zords, yeah, steam-powered Megazords would be also kind of cool. Other than that, I don't know what else to do with it. So, moving right along to Star Slayer, hope I'm saying that name right. Steven Universe, the show in steampunk style. That's it, nothing else. Okay, that's easy. Steampunk, Steven Universe. How exactly would that go? Steampunk Steven Universe. I'm trying to think here. Cause you gotta incorporate the steampunk stuff with the magic stuff. So that's a toughie right there. Maybe have it that the crystal gems are like an old like an old gang or like a streetwise gang you see in like 5 Points, New York, back in like trying to make it like Steven the Universe is like the gems are like a gang, like a street gang, and the diamonds are like the head of or like all these different government members in this steampunky universe. I don't know. That's all I got right now. Anyway, thank you for that question, Slayer. Moving on now to Nicholas Harley, who asks, what is steampunk exactly? The best way I can describe steampunk for you, Nicholas, is that it's a kind of like pseudo sci-fi art genre where people take classic ideas and make them like modern ideas and make them classic. It's like 18th century science fiction. Think like Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or the Time Traveler, or the Time Machine and stuff like that. That's the best way I can describe it. Second question: Steampunk meets Rick and Morty. What happened? They kind of already did a steampunk Rick and Morty out there, so it's not really a person; it's a thing. All right, what is my favorite thing about steampunk? Kind of already answered that one, but thank you for those questions regardless, Nicholas. Moving on now to Carlotta Studios, who asks, you mentioned steampunk music. I didn't even know that existed. So what is steampunk music? It's a music genre of like classical and old-timey music, and given kind of that almost like a twang to it, you know what I mean? Actually, Carlotta, if you want to get into steampunk, there's a band I think would be right up your alley. And that band is Steam Powered Giraffe, which is, they dress as robots, their songs are awesome. They do some cool covers of a few songs from songs I initially hate, but I love their covers, like that Rihanna song, Shine Like a Diamond. That's awesome. The band consists of The Spine, and Rabbit, and Hatchworth. And they're these people, these 3 band members who dress as robots, and they do steampunky type songs. So there you go. My personal favorite is The Spine. Yeah, you have to say The Spine like that, because he's The Spine. Anyway. So thank you for that question. Moving on to your second is, what would you say that Treasure Planet and Stormhawks have some steampunk elements? If not, how would you steampunk their universe? I guess you could kind of say it's pseudo-steampunk between Stormhawks and Treasure Planet, because you see a lot of the elements of steampunk in Treasure Planet, so there's not really much I can say for that. Stormhawks, it's kind of like that too, because everything's almost steam or not gas-powered, it's crystal-powered or steam-powered, and yeah, some of the machinery in there is very steampunky-ish. So, yeah. Lord of the Rings. If Lord of the Rings was steampunk, how would you alter the story in World of Middle-earth? I don't know. I can't. It's too big a gap. I can't do it, Captain. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Carlotta. Moving on now to Linerman0245, who asks, how would a steampunk Westeros work out? Oh, that is so difficult. I got nothing, guys. You see, when you ask me these kind of questions, don't expect something incredibly amazing because, well, yeah, I gotta sit and think about these. and I can't really think of something that is so fantasy and give it like a pseudo-modern twist at the drop of a hat. Anyway. So your second question is, Linerman, is Steampunk Mechagodzilla, how would it be designed? How would a Steampunk Mechagodzilla be designed? I think the metal would be like a mesh of iron and copper. The body of it, anyway. The finger missiles would still be there. There'd be like a huge Gatling gun arm. Like the arm would convert into a Gatling gun. There'd also be instead of the Maser cannon, it would be like an electro cannon powered by Tesla coils, something like that. Anyway, moving on now to think of those questions, Linerman. Moving on now to Omnitron12345, who asks, "Do you think steampunk is one of the most underrated forms of fantasy?" I wouldn't say underrated. I would say it's getting into the limelight now. Apparently there was a game show that was like Face Off about it. So yeah, I guess it's coming more and more into the forefront. All right. Second question: Have you heard of, or at least read, Steam Wars, which is basically an alternate take on Star Wars? Yeah, I've heard of it. I've never read it, but I don't know. I'll check it out if I can. Third question: Have you ever read Mike Mignola's Amazing Screw-On Head? It's about a steampunk robot that's a secret agent for Abraham Lincoln. I've never read it, but I did watch that animated pilot that made me go, "God damn it, sci-fi! What the hell is wrong with you for not approving of this shit? Because it's amazing." Anyway, what was I going to say? But yeah, thank you for those questions. Moving on now to Common X Wealth. Common X Wealth asks, "Have you ever played any steampunk-like games like Dishonored? And if so, what do you like the most? Do you think steampunk... Oh, that was the first question. I haven't played Dishonored. I have played games like Bioshock and a few others. Bioshock's technically steampunk in a way. I do want to play Dishonored, but like my brother has hated it so much, and he's usually right about stuff, so I haven't really played a lot of Dishonored. I might, if I can find it for a reasonable price. That is. All right. Do you think a steampunk-like giant mech animal manga could work? If we could have a 70-foot-tall steampunk Cyberman, then why not have something from Zoids, only steampunk? All right. I think those questions common. Moving on now to May Sun, who asks, "Does Victoria settings only count for steampunk, or can steampunk be a part of other things?" It can count for other things. It just kind of needs to have that Victoria era feeling to it. I feel like that's the big thing, is that it's got to have that kind of Victoria era feeling, or something in that likeness. That's the best way I can say it. So, thank you for that question, May. Moving on now to Adavan Rajingsham, who asks, "Which aspect of steampunk aesthetics do you enjoy the most?" Gears, steam-powered stuff, and just the designs of things, like Tesla coil. Like, if you have a Tesla coil to something, I'm instantly interested. Second question: What was your introduction to steampunk? For you, it was Fullmetal Alchemist. I think for me, officially, my introduction to steampunk was Treasure Planet. I think Treasure Planet would be my introduction to steampunk, technically speaking. Alright? In the last few years, I haven't really seen much come out of steampunk genre aside from Korra. Do you have any recommendations for something more recent that would be steampunk? Not really. There hasn't been really a lot of major stuff, but if you haven't seen it yet, go check out Steam Boy. It's an amazing anime film that is like the embodiment of steampunk, done as an anime. Thinking of those questions out of the van. Moving on now to Wolfman the Impaler, who asks, "Have you ever listened to Abney Park? If so, what are some of your favorite songs from them?" Ooh, I love Abney Park. I love them. I think my favorite song from them is Airship Pirates. That's a great song. I sometimes kind of listen to it when I'm playing Assassin's Creed. I just kind of imagine, I'm not in the ocean, I'm in the cloud, motherfuckers. My second favorite song from them is the cover of Katusha, which is an old Russian love song. It's very well done. So those are so Airship Pirates with Katusha at number 2. Second question: what kind of kaiju and/or giant monster would fit in a steampunk world? Mechagodzilla? I don't know about any other kaiju, but well, I guess you could say like maybe Big O. Big O is technically a mecha, and it was kind of Big O was kind of steampunky in its design. So there you go. There's that. 3. Would you accept more fantasy-style themes in a steampunk story like dragons, elves, and whatnot, where humans were the only to use steampunk technology while elves use magic? Yeah. I just don't know how I can make the two work and make it interesting. Although there is that Joe Kelly comic, Four Eyes, which has dragons in it. It's a steampunk setting, so need to read that. Sorry if I've been pausing a few times. I've been drinking water to keep my mouth dry. Keep my mouth from going dry. Yeah. So, moving right along. So, thank you for those questions, Wolfman. Moving on now to Dylan Malone 14, who asks, what other forms of media do you like to see crossover with steampunk world? I'd like to see fantasy done right. I've seen, fan comics and whatnot, and it just seems like it doesn't mesh right. Something like that. Fantasy and steampunk. There you go. Do you think magic and steampunk can work together? Yes, but I feel like there should be limitations to magic in that world. Like magic's a new thing, or it's a form that is still that people don't really understand. It's almost like forbidden science in a way. Do you think the same stuff can be seen in steampunk world can be recreated? Some of the stuff seen in a steampunk world can be recreated. Art-wise, yeah. I don't know if you could do weapons and vehicles like that. Possibly for the vehicles, but weapons not so much. Anyway, so thank you for those questions, Dylan. Moving on now to NX57. NX57 asks, I've been thinking if there were mechs in Equestria, they would certainly be steampunk. Yeah, they probably would be. Second question, does the term steampunk apply to pre-industry technology, or can it be used with the oldest times? For example, giant robot in ancient Greece, does that count as steampunk? Pre-industrial technology, that doesn't count as steampunk. That just counts as science fiction. It has to be be powered by steam or not gas and made with during industrial era stuff, something you would see in the it has to be in that time frame of mid to late 1800s to early 1900s. Just at the height of just before World War I hits, Steampunk, and final question is, Steampunk Transformers, what do you think? Again, we kind of already had Steampunk Transformers. IDW, I don't know if anyone's read this comic. I've only read it once, and it was when I was just in a bookstore and I didn't have any money. I was just reading it. I think it's called Hearts of Iron or Hearts of Steel. It's Hearts of something. The comic is basically about a alternate take of the Autobots and Decepticons coming down to Earth, and the Autobots team up with John Henry, the folklore legend that built railroads, and they fought Decepticons, and it was awesome. They recently brought him back. When I say recently, about 2 years back, they recently did a one-shot that focused on that universe's Transformers fighting the minions of Cthulhu in the great old ones in general in the comic Invasion. Infestation. Infestation. The second one of that event. So we kind of already got that. And it was awesome. Alright, think of that question. Moving on now to Gaslight88, who asks, what are 3 things you like about steampunk as a genre, and 1 thing you don't? 3 things: weaponry, vehicles, and just art-wise in general. 1 thing? I got nothing. Maybe the shoes. Those shoes look tight. What has been 1 franchise you think that would have a steampunk version or elements added to it? 1 franchise that could benefit from steampunk. I would say Assassin's Creed, but we kind of got that with Syndicate. Syndicate you could technically call a steampunk kind of story. Because it does have kind of the steampunk elements you see art-wise and weaponry and storytelling as well in that universe. So Syndicate, kind of answered that question already for me. If you were to ask me, like, what is another one, though, I would say... I got nothing. Sorry. But thinking of those questions, Gaslight. Moving on now to Alistair Boneman, who asks, if you could create or have any steampunk vehicles, what would you have, and what would you have, a name for it? Steampunk vehicles. I guess, now that I think about it, I guess steampunk vehicle-wise, maybe a gyrocopter. Just to be like, I'm in a gyrocopter, motherfuckers! And that would be it. Second question, if you were to create a steampunk land, what would you call it, and what kind of world would it be? World building. I guess call it Tesla Town? Or Teslaville? I don't know, I've been a fan of I'm a fan of Nikolai Tesla. I'm a fan of his work, and what he stood for as a person, so... Yeah, I just name it in honor of Tesla, so... Well, not what he's... Okay, Tesla stood for a few things that are a bit questionable, so not that, now that I said that by accident, my bad. But I was a fan of his work as a scientist. And your third question is, if you were to create a hero team to protect this world, and those who see harm in it, what would you call them? How many members? I guess I would make them kind of like a hodgepodge of a gang, like these gangsters that I would hire to take care of business and give them weapons and keep them under my thumb, because I would just have the kill switch for their weapons. I don't know. There you go. So, moving on now to... Thank you for those questions, Alistair. Moving on now to BooRat01, who asks, ever watch Mutant Chronicles with Thomas Jane and Ron Perlman? What are your thoughts on it, if you've seen it? I like it. I actually have seen it. I haven't seen it a lot. I think I've seen it about 4 times in my life. But it's actually a pretty good film. Underrated, too. I love that opening sequence with the giant-ass, like, pulse cannons shooting in this World War I era kind of world. It's an awesome opening sequence. What steampunk franchise would you like to see adapted into a movie, be it a video game or comic or Marvel series? Steampunk franchise, I guess BioShock. BioShock would be fun. 3. Do you own or know any steampunk band, apparel, props, toys, etc.? Here's the problem with steampunk. I love it, but I don't own any of it because it's so fucking expensive. Seriously. Have you ever gone, like, I was at MegaCon one year, and there was a booth that sold steampunk apparel. Jackets, top hats with goggles, flight helmets, shit like that. The cheapest one I could find was $60, if that gives you an inclination of how priced that stuff was. And I understand, yeah, it's leather, it ain't cheap, but yeah, this is kind of, I mean, yeah, it's art. It's not cheap. So, anyway, so thank you for those questions. Moving on now to Shockwave Spider, who asks, first question, do you think there could be a steampunk setting in a future Assassin's Creed game? Kind of got that in Syndicate, technically speaking. Second question, do you consider steampunk to be your favorite type of fantasy? I'd say one of. Still love me some science fiction. But steampunk's pretty fun. How would you make a Randy Cunningham 9th grade ninja steampunk world? I've kind of thought about this, really. This is actually when I'll go in a little more detail, because I've given this one a little thought. Just keyword a little here. I would have it that Randy is a runaway. He's an orphan, and he's a pickpocketer working for Boss McFist. But by night, one night he's inducted by this group called the Tengu clan, and they make him into a ninja. So he's a ninja in a steampunk world. There you go. Alright, moving on to think of those questions. Shockwave, moving on now to Guidex Viller. Hope I'm saying that name right. How to write a steampunk. It's a really difficult world to write in. That's why I love it, but I don't know if I could do that world and not make it sound the same, unfortunately. So, yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, that looks like all the questions. Once again, I want to thank everybody who sent in questions, and if someone's question was not answered, I do apologize for that. YouTube tends to be a dick on these things, so I am truly sorry for that. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed it regardless, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.